Yeah, today we're going to be talking a little bit about natural law. Just a discussion. Dorianne, she's on the One Great Work Network from Mark Patio. I'll leave a link to her channel in the description down below. And I thought I would just start this chat off with a little quote that I found the other day. Okay, here we go. So, if you wish to keep the slaves, you must have all kinds of guards. And the cheapest way to have guards is to have the slaves pay taxes to finance their own guards. To fool the slaves, you tell them that they are not slaves and that they have freedom. You tell them that they need law and order to protect them against the bad slaves. Then you tell them to elect a government, give them freedom to vote, and they will vote for their own guards and pay their salary. They will then believe that they are free persons. Then you give them money to earn, count and spend, and they will be too busy to notice the slavery that they are in. So
yes, that's what's happening,
that
right?
pretty much describes the current situation.
Yes, yes. And you're living in France right now?
Yeah, we've had the election quite recently.
The election, yes.
The selection.
Yes, exactly. So that's exactly what you describe is what is happening. And also what you notice with this is that even with everything that happened this last 2 years, where a lot of things became unveiled and more people became aware of what is happening, or some people are becoming to want something different, a different system, I would say, where they just get out of this master and slave relationship. And sometimes you can see, or often I will say that even when people realize that this is unhealthy, this master and slave situation, you can wonder, have questions if people really want to do something different actually, or is it the fear of change or some other reasons that make people who also disagree with that still participate in the end in that system, in electing this master in order, with the hope that they will save them, that they will change something for them, instead of just realizing that you're the one who free yourself and rule yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We are the ones that create the change, not some external master that we believe has the answers to all our woes.
Yes, yes. And I don't know if you also, I mean, for me, it was just surprising, or not really surprising, but a little bit, I can be honest. And I was surprised that I could see some people around me who will be really more aware of what's going on and still in the end participate in these elections, or would still think that that's the only solution, where there's another solution, but it's like not going all the way to take your responsibility and really work on yourself to really realize that you are the one who will get yourself out of this, and to do the action to get out, or do something, anything you can to create something different. And sometimes I think is it fear of change or fear of taking the responsibility for ourselves that make people who now can see some things and still go the same way.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of multiple things. People have also had trauma in the past. Their parents, and they probably had an abusive relationship with their parents, and even if it wasn't abusive, they probably were still rejected in some way. And for them, it's like difficult to overcome those things and to take the action required to change this world from a state of slavery to a state of freedom. or as it's said in natural law, it's chaos. We're experiencing chaos currently, and people think that the chaos is actually order when it's an inversion of that. We're actually experiencing the opposite of order right now.
That's right. Yes. Yes, that's also something to realize that, it's good to see that there are some things happening and to realize that there are some people who don't want the best of human beings, and who try to do some things to hurt other people, other beings, but just to see it and not do anything is where
that's part of the problem.
We stay stuck in, and we go back to just the same issue and the same system that we keep feeding and we keep participating in, and of course it's not easy to just get out of this and suddenly change, but we need to be more on the same page, I guess, to start to take more and more action towards something that is just not feeding this master and slaves, like you described it earlier. This master and slave situation.
And how would you describe the solution? What are some things that people can do to change the current situation we find ourselves in?
So I would say that the main solution to this chaotic situation is to understand and apply natural law and to really know what it is, to not stop at the name and feel like, oh, I don't know what that is. Is that something like a religion or something? Sometimes people just stop themselves when they hear the name natural law or all the other names you can call it. But sometimes I see that people not know anything about it or very little, or just hear the name and be like, we don't have to go through this concept to change anything, when actually it's really the solution, one of the solutions to this chaotic situation, to understand it, to apply it, and then to do our self-work that nobody can do for ourselves, And like you mentioned traumas. So we all had traumas before, and to heal those traumas, to ask why, until we find the root, and we move on after that. And so we can create something better, not based on our traumas that we had. And so I would say understanding, applying natural law, working on ourselves daily. So this can be part of, like, some people will say shadow work, do your shadow work. Self inner work, inside, really deep work to understand why we're like this, why we repeat some certain things, why we get like addicted to some things that hurt us, actually. And distractions, yes. And have a deeper understanding of ourselves, so we can also understand others and what surrounds us. And by understanding natural law, it's also understanding what surrounds us, like that our actions have consequences, and this is not for us to decide about this. So whether we like it or not, that's something that is here, that will not change. And to understand that it's also a science, and that it's not some fantasy utopic world where
it's like the law of gravity. You jump off a height and you're gonna fall and you're gonna hurt yourself, so don't jump.
Yes. So you see, like the law of gravity, people won't tell you, oh no, we don't have to go through understanding the law of gravity to know that
it exists.
That it exists. So they will not reject it like they reject natural law today. And of course, you don't have to go through all the scientific explanations of the law of gravity to explain that you know, you will fall if you go near a hole or something, and you can explain it in a very complicated way to a scientist, or, you know, but you can explain it also in a very
Simple
easy way to a child. Yeah. So you won't say like, I'm not going to tell this child that he's going to fall or she's going to fall, because it's too complicated to explain the law of gravity, and they don't need to know, we don't need to know, you know. And you can explain it in a very easy way without explaining all the details. And so I think it's the same with natural law. We don't have to always like, if people want, they can, yes, people can have, you want to go deep into it, you can, but it doesn't mean that we have to ignore it completely. And then just because you don't want to know about it, then we have to ignore it. So you wouldn't ignore the law of gravity, then why ignoring the law of the laws of nature, sorry. Yeah.
And with that, I think it's also a good idea just to give a brief overview of what natural law is about. I've already uploaded Mark Vassio's documentary to my channel, so people can check out what it is in detail there. But can you explain to us a little bit what natural law is about?
Yes, so I will explain it. I will try to give an easy explanation. So you have laws coming from nature that bind us to this universe. And with these laws, our actions have consequences. The actions we take need to be based on not causing harm to other human beings and beings in general, living beings, and then to create good and to create order. So if we follow those steps, I will say, then we can live a life in harmony with nature, because we follow the first thing, that we do not cause harm. And very important, that we have the right to defend ourselves if violence is made towards us. So we can use force to defend ourselves if someone uses violence. Okay, so if we ignore it and create actions that harm other living beings, this is where we go towards chaos, and where we can say the situation right now is more chaotic than, yeah. So I don't know if that's very clear. And yeah, I would say like actions have consequences, and our actions need to be aligned with natural law, where we do not create harm and we defend ourselves if there's violence.
Okay, and harm would basically be summarized in 2 words: don't steal.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And to go into a little bit more depth about what don't steal means is don't murder, don't assault, don't trespass, don't coerce, don't rape, and even more importantly, don't lie, because that's what we've seen a lot of. There's a lot of fucking lies being pumped out there, and the voice of the lie is so loud that that's all that you see, people perceive these days. It's just the voice of the lie, and people are wearing masks, face nappies, and going along with all of this bullshit. And they've been so traumatized over the last 2 years. The chains have been released, like there aren't even mandates anymore, and people are still wearing masks outside on the street. That's how conditioned they've become, just because they've been hearing the voice of the lie constantly, and there hasn't been enough voice of the truth. And that's the whole purpose of this one great work, is to put the voice of the truth out there so that it can become common sense.
Yes, and to know that the truth is not what we want to hear, you know, it's what it is. And we need, that's where, like, you talk about the conditioning and the repetition and how it made people addicted to the tools coming from the mind control. So even
that's
when
what government is, mind control.
Yes, so you talked about the mandates and the mask, and when they like remove them, you know, people stay in this loop again. And they think they're actually choosing to do this, while this is why I was also mentioning the self-work, and to know what's going on in you and where the messages you hear are coming from. Are they really coming from you, from your mind, or is it something from outside? And then that makes you do actions that are not aligned with natural law, that causes harm, and you don't even realize what you're doing. And this is why people also are confused, because when you remove some mandates, and you still use those mind control tools on you and wish that people will still use them, this is where people are confused. And this is what comes, if you look at the natural laws expressions. To create order, you have to start with consciousness, with love. But to create chaos, it only starts with fear and consciousness, and then to ignorance and to confusion. So if you are confused and lost in confusion, you go back to the some step backward, and see, oh, confusion comes from ignorance in natural laws expressions, and then where ignorance comes from fear, and why I take my actions based on fear, or why I have fear, thoughts, actions, emotions based on fear, and this is where the inner work, the self-work happen, is to ask why, and go back until you find the roots of why I'm confused, or why you're in ignorance, and why you're fearful. And yes, and this is where you can also ask yourself, am I like this because it's just from me, or there's something from outside, like repetition coming.
Yeah, mass media programming is where we see most of it coming from.
Yes, and it's based on fear and repetition. And when you look at this situation also, these last years, and of course it's not new, but
no, this has been going on for centuries. It's just now
exactly.
The hiddenness has been coming into the scene. This dark force has become so fucking obvious, you can't ignore it anymore.
Yes, that's it. And you can see what's happening comes from the repetition of this mind control, and repetition, and nonstop like messages. Because if you look at the movies we watch, the music we listen, you talked about mainstream media. So all of this in the end is really repetition of messages they want to put in people's minds. So to clear it.
Yeah, they make sure people can't forget it by repeating it 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times. And you see it everywhere.
Yeah, because then it becomes automatic. Yeah.
And that's the plane of causality right there. People think they're going to change it with laws and judicial systems, but it's not going to happen like that. It has to be a shift of consciousness. We have to go from fear-based consciousness to love-based consciousness. And we're not talking about romantic love, the kind of love that you have for your friend or your partner. No, it's a love for all beings to be free, agape love. And that is the kind of love we're talking about. And that is when consciousness expands and opens up. And fear is what closes that thing down. And we become frightened children if we're in fear all the time.
Exactly. And why would we feel this fear? And yeah, for me it's really important to go back to why, and not just focus on it's good to know that these people are doing okay. They have mind control that they use, and they're masters in psychology. They know how to use the human mind to manipulate it, and there's a lot of things behind. And it's good to
My
know
viewers
deep.
aren't so familiar with these people that you're describing. These are the people that are in control of the governments around the world. These are the people that instruct from the highest levels, and they're a small mastermind of Satanists. And yeah,
sorry, yeah.
yes, go ahead.
And it's a small group of people. So what I wanted to say is that it's good to know what is happening and who is doing what, and so you know what's going on. Okay, but then sometimes it's easy to get lost only into this kind of information and not do the real work on the side. So I think it's important to remember to also work on ourselves and not stay lost in what's happening outside, you know, because of course it's really bad, and we need to know. So we need to know this,
how the
like
control
this
system
dark,
works.
yeah, the dark occultists and what they're doing. But then we need to make sure we do the work that is going towards the light, you know, required, and like you said, based on like love and consciousness. Yeah.
And the occultists are the people that want to keep this information away from everyone else. And we are the occultists, so we want to spread this information to everyone else. The more people know this and the more it becomes common sense, the sooner we're going to have freedom, babe. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we need to really like have more people who wants to live a free life, a life based on love and freedom. We just need more in percentage to just unbalance, you know, this
the scale.
This yeah. And the one who give the orders to then the people who do the actions are actually not a big number of people. We are doing, like often I was saying this last 2 years, we do this to ourselves. Like when I see like, oh, this mandate now or this, that, but they're not doing this to us, you know, you're doing the action to harm yourself and others sometimes. So yeah,
our responsibility is not to comply with these mandates and evil and cruel laws.
Yeah, and we are taking the action to, I mean, first of all, you have these people giving the orders, but then you have the people following the orders. So the people who work this kind of job, who push, who force others to follow the order. And then the people, which, like, come on, we are so many of us, you know? So many of us say, okay, yes, we're going to follow this order without knowing really where it's coming from and how evil it is, you know, and how harmful it is to yourself, to others. And in the end, it's us doing this to ourselves. And like you said, we just need more people who understand and apply this knowledge. We're talking about the knowledge of natural law, and to start with love instead of fear in our actions, first in our minds, in our emotions, and then in our actions, to create something good. But it starts from us. That's why I was talking also about the inner work, because it's not starting from us where you just want your neighbor to do it first, you know. Sometimes, like, even if I talk with my family or friends, I will hear this, you know, yeah, but I cannot make a difference. It's just me, you know, it's not one person who's going to change all of this. People need to do it. And yeah, but people is you first, you know. You're part of people, of this collective. And yeah,
the change starts with all of us.
Yeah,
it starts with that motherfucker in the mirror.
Sorry.
It starts with that motherfucker in the mirror. Yeah,
and to look at ourselves and really how our minds work, our brain, and what has been put into our minds all this time. Because when you realize that, oh, even at school, I've learned a lot of things that are wrong, and I was
and utterly
wrong
useless.
about, yes. And to realize that I was wrong about so many things, or this, I was aware of it, but so many things that were put into our minds in order to control us in the end. This is what we also have to be aware of, so we don't just keep receiving these messages, these orders, or these things we hear on TV or anywhere, or even around us, because sometimes people will start to talk and we become a parrot of the information we just got from this one, and I saw this I read this in the newspaper, and this, and then we end up saying the same common message, but that's coming from a dark place,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, for me, like at the beginning, we were talking about the solution to this, and I really encourage people to research about natural law and to realize that it's a science and not a religion or a cult or whatever. It's not because you never heard about it, because honestly, I've heard about the law of gravity at school, but I've never heard about natural law before. Not at school, not with my friends, or not on TV, not in cartoons, not in music, not. So then when you hear it for the first time, you're like, what is this? It sounds like a religious belief, like, so I really encourage people to research, because sometimes when people tell me that they think this is unnecessary to know about natural law, they didn't do their research. They don't know what it is about. So research first and then decide for yourself. I'm not saying you have to understand it absolutely and say that it's good. I'm not saying that you have to say good things about it, but just start with researching about it and then make your own decision for yourself, what you think about it, but know that it's here and it won't change because of your belief. Like the law of gravity, we can say what we want. Like, I don't believe it, and it's not true, but it will still happen no matter what human beings think, no matter what we want to believe or what we want to think about it, it won't change. So it's to understand that natural law is not something that we need to really say that, oh, I agree, yeah, it can work like this. Read about it, search more about it, and try, and you will see, because that's how also it happened before. Some people have tried it thousand times, and it works, and you can find the knowledge, you can find more about this solution if you want a solution. Because then sometimes it goes back to, people do really want a solution in the end or not. You see that this is wrong, this is off, you don't want the system anymore, you're tired of it, you're tired of these puppets that will tell you what to do. So do you want a solution? Why not trying the solution instead of trying the same thing again that doesn't work? You can see that this thing doesn't work, and we keep pushing the button, again, one more, again, like, no, just find another
Keep
way
hitting our head
maybe and
against
try.
the wall.
Yes, yeah. So why not trying? Because sometimes also what I hear is, oh, this is like a utopic vision of life. Like, this is Like if there's no more law, and I mean man's law, and if we don't have politicians, then it will be chaos. There will be thieves everywhere. You know, that's really what is going to happen. How do we know? If we really have something that works, that what if we try like to live in harmony with natural law, and what if we apply this law, how it works, we understand how it works, and then we try. Why not trying? Because we keep doing the same thing that doesn't work. So why not trying something else and see if it doesn't work?
That's the key word that you mentioned there, is harmony. Natural law is about harmonizing with it, whereas man's law is about complying with due to fear of punishment.
Yes.
And that makes all the difference in the world.
And it's based on fear again, if you look at it, like you said, punishment, you know, and punishment, who decides this punishment? If human beings are all equals, and who decides that I will decide that you deserve this punishment, and make a law about it? And
no one has that right.
Exactly. No one. Yeah. But so then again, sorry?
Yeah, we should also just touch on rights quickly. What is a right?
So if we go back to actions that do not cause harm to other beings, that's what a right is. And then a wrong is when your actions harm another being. And when you go back to actions have consequences, what do you create? When you commit a right action, you take a right action. And when you take a wrong action, what's coming after? Since actions have consequences, we have to think about this. And yes, a right is an action that does not cause harm to another being. And that is based on, sorry?
Yeah, and it's based on how we behave in the aggregate, all of us.
Yes, so that's one thing.
Yeah, if most of us are moral, in other words, if we take right action and avoid taking wrong action, then we're going to become more free. Whereas if most of us are immoral, as we currently see in the world today, we're going to be more enslaved.
Yeah, look at now. Are our actions based on moral behaviors, you know? And
yeah, look at China at the moment. They're putting fucking cats in a bag, like 15 cats in a bag at once, and just killing them because they're worried the cats have got COVID. It's fucking nuts.
And look at the root. It's fear. Again, it's an action that starts from fear, not from love. And again, like you said, love here as consciousness, and fear here is unconsciousness. So it's an action based on unconsciousness and fear that makes you harm other beings, and you're not creating something good out of that. Yeah. So that's why looking at ourselves and what was put into our minds, and if it's based on love, on consciousness, or on fear, unconsciousness, and then ask why and fix. It's like sometimes, you know, when people, sometimes when I go home and I start to hear, oh, this neighbor, this one, and people talk about each other's, and I'm thinking, wait, you're not supposed to be so busy with yourself and working on yourself that you don't have time to be worried about people's, what they do in their life and the gossips and, you know, this kind of things. Like this work is so hard. Like it's so hard. It takes so much time, and it will never end, the work on ourselves. So I'm like, wait, do we have time for this really? Because we should be so busy working on ourselves. And that's not a selfish thing that I'm saying, is working to heal ourselves.
Yeah, that's the first step.
Yes, so only us can do this. Then, of course, you can take external work and do some traditional medicinal practices to help your body and your mind, but the deeper work is made by ourselves, with ourselves, to ourselves. Yes, and it takes forever.
And once we've come to a good place, then our job is to put what we learn out there into the world.
Yes, yeah, and also about the aggregate and to create freedom and live.
The aggregate is the collective
freedom.
one.
Yes. So I wanted to say also when we take actions, we experience them together, and it's not just me. I'm going to live my peaceful life and do my right actions on my side in my corner, and this is only, it will stay in my bubble. You know, all the actions we take will be experienced in the aggregate, and that's why we need more people to understand themselves, understand how the universe work, how laws of nature work, and to then put this into practice in our lives and do what is right, because you were talking about what is a right also, and do what is right to take actions that are not causing harm. Yeah.
And that's why veganism is also, it's actually, I'd say veganism is probably the easiest way to start with that, to live in harmony with natural law.
Yeah, it is. For me, to not harm animals is part of natural law. I know many people disagree with that, but
again, that's conditioning.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Why we will think that we have a right to harm them and take their life? What makes us like? What gives us a right here to create a harmful action towards animals? You know, why natural law would be don't cause harm to other beings, but animals, it's okay, you know, that's okay, you know. If a right action is to not cause harm and a wrong action is to cause harm, when I cause harm to an animal, it's wrong, isn't it? And my actions will, and my actions will create more suffering. Is suffering that I create, is that going to create something good? I don't think so.
It'll come back to us in one way or another.
Yeah. And yeah, when you understand that there are living beings, I'm looking this way because my dog is lying down here. So I'm like, yeah. So when you understand that there are living beings, don't let them live. That's it. Their life is precious. Your life is precious. You don't want anybody to harm you, then don't harm them. They wouldn't want anyone to harm them, you know, and you can see it clearly. If someone tries to harm them, they will have their way to express themselves. They will not speak French or English or German, you know, but they will speak their language, and you don't need a translator to understand that they're suffering. And that obvious. You need to stop, you know, they're telling you to stop. You don't need a translator, you understand.
Yeah, people often say that they want freedom and all this, but they're still enslaving other beings. So you can't expect to have freedom for yourself if you're just going to be an archon yourself.
That's right. That's why. That's where looking at our own actions, looking at ourselves is important. So we say we want freedom, or we don't want to be harmed, you know, and then what do when we enslave animals, take their freedom away, and hurt them, harm them, kill them?
We're behaving exactly like the government.
Yeah, we think that we have a right to kidnap them, lock them in a cell or in a closed space, and then decide what's going to happen to them, what punishment maybe they don't think punishment, but that's what happened to them in the end. You know, it's I don't know, maybe if we put ourselves in their head, like, why you would ask, what did I do to deserve this? You know, why did I do to be locked in that place and to be killed or tortured or, yeah. And we definitely don't have this right. And then we have other solutions again. Like, look at all the foods we have that.
Yeah, it's so easy to be vegan in 2022.
Yeah.
That's easy.
And we're not, very easy. And then, you know, we're not living, well, some people are living in extreme conditions in some harsh winter, but in general, we have so much solutions now. And even, so I don't really want to speak for people who live in winter. They cannot even plant food, and it's hard for them to access to some.
And we're not talking about
food that are
survival
not.
yet.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's not about survival. And to say that, oh, but human beings have been living like this for a long time, we need to look also why human beings went to these areas in the world before, and we adapted ourselves. It's not our nature to kill animals to live. You know, it was adaptation to survival situation.
Yeah,
but when
a
we look at
situation.
Yes, so to compare this all the time to now, you know, sometimes it makes no sense. Like, people will tell you about this, and next to them there's a, you know, place where you can find all the fruits, vegetables, and like all the food you can have, and that are not animal based food.
Yeah, and in the modern world, you don't even have to live in a tropical area. You can get these foods pretty much anywhere in the world.
Right. Yeah. Now it's very easy. Yeah. And for people who would like to who find it hard, just go slowly. Some people can can move from their like diet and switch to vegan very fast. But for some people, it's difficult. And I've heard people tell me, oh, I just stopped because this reason and I was feeling weak, but just take time, because our bodies are different, and don't give up on it. Sometimes people just remove the things from their plates, and then they're like, oh, I feel weak and I don't have anything left, you know, in my plate. Like, if you remove, of course you will feel hungry, or you will just end up with a bowl of rice, you know. So don't remove from it, just replace and add, because actually there's so much more. In my opinion, there's so much choice and things that you can create from plants and vegan foods, you know. It becomes very creative, and you shouldn't be bored with your meals, you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and
I don't think there's that much more to talk about.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of good, interesting topics, and it's also good that you mentioned the animals, because
that
what
often
we're
gets
doing
left
to
out
them.
of this freedom movement. We don't talk about the animals much.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not to take it, you know, personally. It's not an attack to people. Sometimes people feel offended by this, but it's not personal. It's just to be objective and look at what we are really doing to animals. Not it's not me who will think that, oh, you're a bad person, you need to change. It's not that. It's be objective, look at yourself, and really look at them suffering. Like, if you can stop this, then do it.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. Well,
okay.
Thank you so much for the invitation, by the way.
I don't even know what your real name is. Is it Dorian?
Dorian, yes.
Oh, it is Dorian. Okay. Because I think you said somewhere that you got that name from a TV show or something. Dorian.
Greens. So Greens is my nickname. Yes. So
okay,
Dorian
Greens.
is my name, and Greens is just a nickname.
Okay.
So then people call me Greens sometimes, some friends or so. Then when I was doing, I'm still doing, but in dance. So in the dance, in dance hall. So it's a Jamaican dance style. It's common to have nicknames. And so my last name is more difficult for people to pronounce. It's Sarrazin. And so Dorian Sarrazin for dance, I was thinking it's too long or too complicated for people to understand. And mostly people will read it the wrong way. So for my last name, sometimes I didn't want to add it for this dance stuff. So I chose Dorian Greens. And then it reminded me of Dorian Gray. So the picture of Dorian Gray, the book, because this sounds almost the same, the gray greens. And so I kept this name together just to make it easier and fun, because in that dance, again, it's common, and then people call you Greens But
And
my name is Dorian.
Okay, and you live up to your reputation because you eat all your greens.
No, it makes sense in the end because I eat my greens.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Good having you.
Thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate it. And you're also doing really a good thing with I saw some of your videos, and you're also spreading this knowledge about natural law and freedom and consciousness and love, and also not only love and light, but to know that to go this way, we need to understand that there's some darkness happening, because why would we be in this chaotic situation now if it was not the case?
It's going to require action from all of us
exactly
to end it.
Yes. So thank you too, and thank you for your work too.
Well, I'm just getting started. There's still a shitload to learn. I'm not very knowledgeable on this topic at the moment, but I'm learning every day as much, or sort of as much as I can. It's not easy. There's so much to know.
It's the same for me.
Yeah,
I'm always learning about it, and I also sometimes I feel, oh my God, when I see all the things I need to read and learn, and I'm like, I know nothing about this, and then I'm like, okay, I have some knowledge that I can share at the moment, and I should start there, and I'm not claiming that I know everything and I know everything that is going. I have a lot to learn too, but we actually taking actions and doing something to share this how we can. And I think the most important also is to not stop learning. We keep learning, and we keep sharing the message to improve our life.
Yes, that's what it's about.
Yes.
Our lives and everyone else's lives.
And everyone else, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And that is what true care is.
It is, yes. Yes, it's not to just care about yourself and what you want to do for yourself and screw everybody else. And it's true care for everyone, and like we mentioned it earlier, to balance the scale and to be more on the same page, but the same page towards truth, love, and freedom instead of slavery and chaos. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Cool, that's great. Thank you so much again. Yeah.
Hey, ciao for now.
Yes, ciao for now, and good afternoon for you.
Yeah, it's night time there. You're in Taiwan. You fled France because France is a shithole.
Well, I left a long time ago, but I love France, so it's unfortunate that the situation is how it is, but it's worldwide, because even here it's not
perfect.
It's not based on love and consciousness.
No,
if you know what I mean. Yes, it's going the same way as, like, if you know that, like, we were talking about the dark occultists, it's ruled by the same people.
Force and people.
Force,
Yeah.
yes.
Force people.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the people who follow the orders and are doing their work of forcing others to follow the orders they received from those dark forces, you know. So hopefully people will realize that, and that is really our choice in the end to follow or not, and to create order or chaos.
Yeah, police, military, and government, quit your cult.
Exactly. Yes.
All right.
All right, great. Thanks again.
Later.
See you.
Ciao.
Ciao.